Oh, not moving.
Is the world quietly shifting while most of us look away? A glowing sphere drops from the sky. 3 suns blaze over a silent village, and deep rumbling sounds roll across the clouds like distant thunder. A perfect circle appears in a field overnight. A bird mimics human voices as if delivering a warning, and weather splits into snow and rain at the same moment. A luminous spiral drifts across the horizon. Birds freeze in unnatural stillness. A sudden explosion leaves streets in chaos, and ancient carvings emerge like echoes from another age. 10 events surge forward, collide, and escalate, each one more unsettling than the last. They happen far apart, yet the pattern feels unified, as though heaven and earth are responding to the same signal. The pace accelerates, the tension tightens, and the sense of urgency grows with every sign. These moments are not slowing down. Have you felt that something is changing? Have you witnessed anything that made you question what is really happening? If these signs are not random, then something is unfolding right now, and the window to understand it may be closing. Let's begin with the first sign. 1. A voice that should not exist. On a quiet afternoon, a simple trip to lunch suddenly turned into a moment that felt unsettling and deeply symbolic. A small bird landed gently on the hood of a parked car, but instead of chirping normally, it began producing sounds that resembled human speech. The friends inside the car froze, confused yet fascinated, sensing that something about this moment felt different. The bird tilted its head and repeated tones that sounded almost intentional, like a message struggling to break through the ordinary noise of the world. What began as harmless curiosity quickly gained weight, carrying an uneasy feeling that this encounter meant more than it appeared. The group kept recording, and the bird continued mimicking voices, even echoing one of the girls in a distorted but recognizable way. Minutes later, the friends drove away, still laughing nervously, unsure of what they had witnessed. Not long after leaving, they were robbed on the road, and the memory of the bird instantly returned with chilling clarity. The warning had already passed. The coincidence felt too precise to ignore, and many who later watched the footage wondered whether the bird had been more than an animal, perhaps a messenger sent before danger unfolded. The idea that a message could arrive through such an unexpected form stirred both curiosity and unease. Numbers 22:28 records a moment when God used a creature to deliver a warning. Then the Lord opened the mouth of the donkey, and it said to Balaam, "What have I done to you to make you beat me these 3 times?" This passage reveals that divine messages are not always delivered through prophets or angels, but sometimes through the most unexpected forms. When people reflect on the talking bird, they cannot help but notice a faint echo of that ancient moment, as though history quietly repeated itself in a modern setting. Some may attempt to explain the event as coincidence or simple mimicry, yet the timing challenges that comfort. The bird spoke, the group ignored it, and danger followed almost immediately. That sequence raises deeper questions about whether modern humanity has grown too quick to dismiss warnings that do not fit expectations. The incident does not demand belief, but it plants doubt, a quiet uncertainty that something meaningful may have been overlooked. The more people replay the footage, the heavier the silence after the event seems to become. Job 12:7-10 offers another perspective. "But ask the animals, and they will teach you, or the birds in the sky, and they will tell you, or speak to the earth, and it will teach you, or let the fish in the sea inform you. Which of all these does not know that the hand of the Lord has done this? In his hand is the life of every creature and the breath of all mankind." These words suggest that creation itself can become a vessel of divine communication. When read alongside the strange encounter, curiosity slowly transforms into reverence, and the possibility of quiet warnings becomes harder to dismiss. For humanity, the deeper concern lies not in the bird itself, but in the response. The warning appeared, the message sounded, yet it was ignored. That pattern reflects a broader fear, that signs may be unfolding around us while we remain distracted by routine. A soft voice tried to speak, but it faded into silence. Beyond that silence, another sign begins to rise, one that no longer whispers but rumbles across the sky. 2. The sky made a sound with no source. Beneath a heavy blanket of clouds, a man lifted his camera to capture the quiet sky, expecting nothing more than drifting gray shapes. Suddenly, a deep rumbling rolled across the air, not sharp like thunder, but low and prolonged, like a distant roar pressing downward from beyond sight. The sound vibrated through the atmosphere, lingering longer than any natural echo. The sky remained visually still, yet the noise carried a weight that felt deliberate, as though something unseen had announced its presence. The calm moment collapsed into unease. The silence that followed felt heavier, as though the sky itself had just groaned. Not long after, similar reports surfaced from far away, where people described hearing the same strange rumbling through radios and open air. Recordings began circulating, each clip capturing a metallic, rolling resonance that seemed to stretch across the sky. Witnesses spoke of confusion mixed with fear, unsure whether the sound came from above or from deep within the earth. The pattern was no longer local. The sound was spreading. What seemed like a single, unexplained moment now appeared as part of a larger sequence, and the growing number of testimonies intensified the sense that something unusual was unfolding. Jeremiah 10:13 describes a powerful image. When he utters his voice, there is a tumult of waters in the heavens, and he makes the mist rise from the ends of the earth. He makes lightning for the rain, and he brings forth the wind from his storehouses. This verse speaks of a voice that moves through the heavens with force. When the sky produces deep rumblings without visible storm, the imagery feels strikingly familiar. The idea that such sounds might carry divine meaning transforms a simple recording into something far more significant. The heavens appear less silent when viewed through this lens. Some attempted to attribute the phenomenon to atmospheric pressure or distant machinery. Yet these explanations struggled to capture the emotional impact described by those who heard it. The rumbling lacked the sudden crack of thunder and carried a drawn-out resonance that felt intentional. It arrived without warning, hovered unnaturally, and disappeared without leaving a trace. The absence of a visible cause left many unsettled. The question remained whether humanity was witnessing a natural anomaly or hearing a warning that had not yet been understood. Revelation 10:3 records another moment tied to a powerful sound. And he cried with a loud voice, as when a lion roars. When he cried out, the seven thunders uttered their voices. The description of thunderous voices connected to divine action invites reflection. When unexplained rumblings echo across the modern sky, the connection to prophetic imagery becomes difficult to dismiss. The thought that the heavens might be speaking awakens a sense of urgency. Such moments encourage people to listen more carefully, searching for meaning beyond the sound itself. The most unsettling element is repetition. A single noise may fade quickly, yet recurring echoes suggest intention. The sky rarely produces sounds that stir collective unease, and when it does, attention naturally follows. These rumblings left behind a lingering tension, as though the air had carried a message not yet fully revealed. The silence after the echoes felt like a pause before something greater. The next sign would not be heard, it would be seen. 3. A silent light descended to earth. During a quiet drive along a snow-covered road, a man recorded the still landscape, capturing trees coated in frost and an empty horizon. Without warning, a glowing sphere descended from the sky, moving smoothly before touching the ground in the distance. The object did not explode or scatter. It settled with an eerie calm, radiating soft shades of pink, orange, and gray. The driver slowed, confusion mixing with fascination, as he realized he had just captured something he could not explain. The stillness made the glowing sphere feel deliberate, like a sign placed within an untouched scene. He drove closer, stepped out, and continued filming while the object remained motionless, glowing faintly against the pale ground. The air looked calm, no smoke, no sound, no visible source. The footage quickly spread online, drawing thousands of viewers who replayed the moment repeatedly, searching for clues. Some suggested advanced technology, others speculated about unknown aerial phenomena, yet no official explanation followed. No answers followed, and the mystery only deepened. The quiet landing and lingering glow created the impression of a message delivered without words. Exodus 13:21 presents an image that resonates with such a sight. By day, the Lord went ahead of them in a pillar of cloud to guide them on their way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so that they could travel by day or night. This passage speaks of light descending to guide and signal direction. When a glowing object appears suddenly and rests silently on the earth, the imagery echoes the idea of divine light intersecting with human paths. The connection invites reflection on whether such moments serve as reminders that guidance can appear unexpectedly. Some observers attempted to classify the sphere as debris or an atmospheric illusion, yet the controlled descent and steady glow raised questions. The object did not behave like a meteor, nor did it leave a visible trail. Its calm arrival and lingering presence suggested intention rather than randomness. The lack of sound added to the unease, as though the moment was meant to be witnessed rather than explained. Doubt began to replace quick conclusions. Ezekiel 1-4 describes a vision that many find strikingly similar. I looked, and I saw a windstorm coming out of the north, an immense cloud with flashing lightning and surrounded by brilliant light. The center of the fire looked like glowing metal. The imagery of brilliant light descending and resting within a vision has led some to draw parallels with unexplained luminous objects. When modern recordings display glowing forms touching the earth, the resemblance encourages deeper contemplation. The possibility that light itself may function as a sign strengthens the sense of mystery. The significance of this moment lies in its quiet precision. No noise, no destruction, only a sphere of light descending into stillness. Such events leave behind questions rather than answers, and questions often carry more weight than explanations. The glowing object appeared briefly, yet the impression lingered, as though the sky had placed a marker upon the earth. The calmness of the landing suggested that something larger was unfolding step by step. The next sign would multiply the light in the sky. 4. 3 suns appeared where only one should exist. In the middle of an ordinary afternoon, a farmer paused his work and looked upward, expecting nothing more than a familiar sun. Instead, 3 brilliant lights shone above him, arranged in a triangular formation that illuminated the land in an unfamiliar glow. He rubbed his eyes, stepped back, and looked again, yet the vision remained unchanged. The sky appeared calm, no storm clouds, no distortion, only 3 radiant suns suspended in silence. Others nearby began pointing upward, their voices filled with confusion as the light spread gently across the ground. The scene felt less like a natural phenomenon and more like a moment suspended between heaven and earth. The farmer lifted his camera, capturing the unusual alignment as the lights continued to glow steadily. None of them flickered or faded quickly, and the formation remained symmetrical, intensifying the sense that the moment carried meaning. Viewers later replayed the footage, counting the lights, analyzing the angle, and searching for reflections or illusions. Yet the brightness appeared distinct, each orb shining clearly in its own place. The stillness of the air and the clarity of the formation deepened the mystery. Curiosity grew as people began to wonder whether the sky itself was presenting a sign rather than a coincidence. Genesis 1:14 speaks of the purpose of lights in the heavens. And God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for days, and years." This verse emphasizes that celestial lights can serve as signs. When three suns appear simultaneously, the imagery invites reflection on whether the heavens are communicating through alignment and brilliance. The presence of multiple lights strengthens the impression of intentionality. The sky appears to speak through symbols that stir attention and contemplation. Some explanations suggested atmospheric refraction or ice crystals bending light. Yet the precision of the triangular formation left many unconvinced. The brightness seemed too defined, and the persistence of the lights created a sense of deliberate placement. Observers noted that the glow illuminated the land in a way that felt unusual, neither harsh nor scattered. The lack of rapid change intensified the perception that the moment carried significance. Doubt emerged, not in disbelief of the event, but in questioning whether simple explanations were enough. The more people studied the footage, the more the mystery deepened. Matthew 24-29 describes celestial disturbances tied to prophetic imagery. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens will be shaken. Though the verse speaks of dramatic change, it highlights the heavens as active participants in unfolding events. When multiple suns appear in one sky, the idea of celestial signs gains strength. The unusual brightness and alignment evoke a sense that the heavens are shifting, drawing attention to something beyond ordinary understanding. For humanity, the most striking element is the number itself. One sun is familiar, two might confuse, but three create a vision that feels symbolic. The formation lingered long enough to imprint itself in memory, leaving viewers unsettled yet fascinated. The sky appeared to multiply its light, as though emphasizing urgency through brilliance. The moment faded, yet its meaning remained open, inviting reflection. The next sign would not multiply the sun, but transform the sky into a living glow moving slowly across the horizon. 5. A living light drifted across the horizon. In the quiet stillness of early morning, a photographer raised his camera to capture mountains bathed in soft dawn light. The horizon appeared peaceful, the sky pale and calm, until a radiant glow emerged from behind the peaks. The light did not flash or streak. It drifted slowly, expanding into a shape that resembled a floating jellyfish. Colors blended and shifted, blue, green, pink, and orange, forming spiral patterns that rotated gently across the sky. The movement felt deliberate, graceful, almost alive, as if the heavens themselves had begun to breathe. The photographer's steady hands captured every second, yet his silence revealed that he had no words to describe what he was witnessing. The glowing form continued gliding across the horizon, leaving no trail and making no sound. Its wheel-like structure expanded and contracted, creating layers of luminous patterns that seemed to pulse softly. Viewers later replayed the footage frame by frame, analyzing the symmetry and motion, yet the phenomenon resisted simple categorization. The colors appeared too vivid for clouds, the structure too organized for random light. As the glow drifted, the surrounding sky remained calm, emphasizing the isolation of the phenomenon. Curiosity grew into awe, and awe gradually shifted into a quiet sense that the moment carried spiritual significance. Exodus 40:34-35 describes a powerful image of divine presence. Then the cloud covered the tent of meeting, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. Moses could not enter the tent of meeting because the cloud had settled on it, and the glory of the Lord filled the tabernacle. The imagery of a luminous cloud representing divine glory resonates deeply with a glowing form moving across the sky. The drifting light, filled with color and motion, evokes the idea of a presence that reveals itself gently rather than violently. When the heavens display beauty that defies explanation, the moment invites contemplation of something sacred. Some observers proposed rare atmospheric light or reflections from distant sources, yet the structured spirals and shifting hues raised doubts. The glow behaved with unusual precision, maintaining shape while drifting steadily. No visible source appeared, no sound accompanied its movement, and the colors remained distinct. The lack of ordinary characteristics made technical explanations feel incomplete. Each replay of the video strengthened the sense that the phenomenon was intentional, not chaotic. The photographer himself admitted that years of experience had never prepared him for such a sight, adding credibility to the mystery. Ezekiel 1:28 offers another vision filled with luminous symbolism. Like the appearance of a rainbow in the clouds on a rainy day, so was the radiance around him. This was the appearance of the likeness of the glory of the Lord. The description of radiant color surrounding divine presence parallels the multicolored glow drifting across the sky. When modern viewers encounter swirling lights filled with vibrant hues, the connection to prophetic imagery becomes compelling. The heavens appear not only to speak through sound or alignment, but also through beauty that inspires reverence. The deeper impact of this event lies in its emotional tone. The light did not frighten through violence. It captivated through wonder. The gentle movement and vivid colors created a sense of peace mixed with mystery, encouraging reflection rather than panic. Such moments draw attention upward, inviting humanity to pause and consider meanings beyond routine life. The glowing form eventually faded, yet the impression lingered, as though the sky had briefly unveiled a hidden layer. After a display filled with color and motion, the next sign would leave a mark not in the air, but upon the ground itself. 6. Perfect circle pressed into the earth. In the stillness of midnight, a quiet field stood untouched beneath a dark sky. Surveillance footage later revealed a strange transformation as crops in the center began to bend gently, flattening in a perfect circular pattern. The plants did not snap or scatter. They folded smoothly, forming a clean ring with an empty space at its core. No wind disturbed the surrounding area, and no shadows of movement appeared. The circle emerged silently, as though an unseen hand had pressed down from above. The calmness of the moment made the formation even more unsettling, turning an ordinary field into something that resembled a deliberate sign. Morning light exposed the full shape, precise and symmetrical, sharply contrasting with the untouched crops around it. The farmer stood in disbelief, walking the perimeter, searching for footprints, tire marks, or any trace of human activity. Nothing appeared. The soil remained undisturbed, and the plants inside the circle lay neatly aligned. Footage from the night showed no entry, no exit, no visible cause. The absence of explanation intensified the tension, leaving only the image of a symbol etched into the land. Curiosity quickly shifted into unease as observers wondered whether the ground itself had received a message. Isaiah 66:19 speaks of signs placed among people. I will set a sign among them, and I will send survivors from them to the nations. The idea of a sign appearing physically resonates with a mark formed upon the earth. A circle, precise and silent, evokes symbolism that feels intentional rather than random. The land appeared to carry a message without words, prompting reflection on whether creation itself can bear witness. The stillness surrounding the formation deepened the impression that the event held meaning beyond coincidence. Some proposed mechanical interference or human creation, yet the lack of disturbance challenged those theories. The crops bent uniformly, not crushed unevenly, and no tracks led into the area. Wind could not produce such precision, and no equipment appeared in the recording. The symmetry remained the most puzzling aspect, suggesting design rather than accident. Doubt grew stronger as viewers realized that common explanations failed to account for the quiet emergence. The more the footage was examined, the more the circle seemed deliberate, as though placed carefully for someone to notice. Luke 21:25 contains a warning about signs affecting both heaven and earth. There will be signs in the sun, moon, and stars. On the earth, nations will be in anguish and perplexity at the roaring and tossing of the sea. This verse connects celestial signs with disturbances on the ground. A perfect circle appearing overnight mirrors the idea of perplexity spreading across the earth. The formation did not destroy the field, yet it left confusion and unease. The most chilling element lies in the silence, a symbol left behind without sound or movement. After a mark pressed into the earth, the next moment would arrive with sudden force that shattered calm surroundings. 7. The calm shattered by a sudden blast. A quiet day was shattered by a massive booming sound that echoed across a neighborhood, sending people rushing outside in confusion. The air filled with dust, debris scattered across the ground, and fragments of metal and glass lay in every direction. In the middle of the chaos, a vehicle appeared crushed beneath what looked like parts of a structure, as though something heavy had dropped from above. Trees leaned at unnatural angles, windows shattered, and the calm routine of daily life collapsed in seconds. Witnesses stood frozen, scanning the sky, searching for an explanation that never appeared. The violence of the moment felt abrupt, as if the boundary between normalcy and disruption had been broken without notice. Emergency calls flooded in as residents tried to describe what they had heard and seen. Some believed an explosion had occurred. Others thought an object had fallen, yet no clear source could be identified. Reporters arrived, cameras rolling, capturing the confusion and fear on every face. The debris pattern seemed inconsistent with ordinary accidents, deepening uncertainty. No one could explain what had fallen. The intensity of the destruction contrasted sharply with the absence of answers, amplifying tension and fueling speculation. Jeremiah 25:32 describes a moment of sudden upheaval. This is what the Lord Almighty says: "Look, disaster is spreading from nation to nation. A mighty storm is rising from the ends of the earth." The imagery of sudden disaster resonates with an unexpected blast that leaves destruction in its wake. The verse portrays chaos, arriving without gradual buildup, mirroring the abruptness of the event. The sound that shook the neighborhood carried the same sense of immediacy, as though a warning had been delivered through impact. Such moments remind observers that stability can shift in an instant. Some suggested structural failure or hidden mechanical causes, yet the scattered debris and unusual damage patterns challenged simple conclusions. The absence of a visible origin deepened the mystery, leaving witnesses unsettled. The scene appeared as though force had descended suddenly, rather than spreading outward from a clear center. This ambiguity fueled doubt, encouraging people to question whether ordinary explanations were sufficient. The shock of the blast lingered long after the noise faded, imprinting a sense of vulnerability. The unpredictability of the event made the warning feel personal, as though no place was beyond sudden disruption. Isaiah 29:5-6 adds another layer of reflection. "But your many enemies will become like fine dust, the ruthless hordes like blown chaff. Suddenly, in an instant, you will be visited by the Lord Almighty with thunder and earthquake and great noise." The phrase, "suddenly in an instant," echoes the abruptness of the explosion. The description of great noise aligns with the booming sound that startled residents. Such verses portray warnings arriving through dramatic disturbance, encouraging contemplation about meaning behind sudden chaos. One moment calm, the next moment confusion and damage. After chaos erupted on the ground, the following sign would appear quieter, yet no less unsettling. 8. two seasons collided in one place. A woman prepared to leave for work and heard the soft rhythm of rain falling outside. She reached for an umbrella, expecting a typical gray morning, yet a glance toward the backyard revealed something completely different. The ground behind her home lay covered in fresh snow, white and still, untouched by rain. She looked again, shifting her gaze between the front and the back, unable to reconcile what she was seeing. The sky looked normal, but reality split in two. Rain continued to fall in one direction, while winter appeared settled in another, creating a contrast that felt deeply unnatural. She recorded the scene, another, capturing raindrops striking one side, while snow rested quietly on the other. The sky appeared uniform, no visible boundary dividing the weather. Viewers who later watched the footage replayed it repeatedly, searching for signs of editing or manipulation. Some suggested a trick, others considered rare atmospheric behavior, yet the visual remained difficult to dismiss. The coexistence of rain and snow created an image that challenged expectations. Curiosity gave way to unease as observers wondered whether natural order was becoming less predictable. Ecclesiastes 3:1 states, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." The verse emphasizes structure and rhythm within creation. When two seasons appear simultaneously, the balance described in Scripture seems momentarily disrupted. The blending of contrasting conditions invites reflection on whether such anomalies serve as reminders that order can shift. The scene felt symbolic, as though the boundaries of time and season had briefly overlapped. Some attempted to explain the event through localized weather patterns, yet the stark contrast remained striking. The rain fell steadily, while the snow showed no sign of melting. The lack of transition between the two heightened uncertainty. The moment did not appear chaotic, but rather strangely organized, as if two conditions had been placed side by side. Doubt grew as viewers realized that simple explanations did not fully capture the visual impact. The coexistence of opposites suggested a deeper disturbance in familiar patterns. Haggai 2:6 offers a broader perspective. "This is what the Lord Almighty says. In a little while I will once more shake the heavens and the earth, the sea and the dry land." The imagery of shaking creation resonates with unusual combinations of weather. When natural order seems to blur, the verse feels relevant. The simultaneous presence of rain and snow evokes a sense that boundaries within creation may be shifting. After the weather displayed two realities at once, attention would turn to a moment where living creatures themselves moved into an unsettling stillness. 9. Living creatures stopped all at once. A woman stepped into her farm carrying grain. Expecting the usual flutter of wings and restless movement, the birds began to run as she entered. Yet, within seconds, everything changed. One by one, they stopped. Their bodies froze mid-motion, their heads lifted, their feet planted, as though time itself had paused. The enclosure fell silent. Dozens of living creatures stood perfectly still, resembling statues placed carefully across the ground. She looked around in disbelief, wondering whether she had startled them, yet the stillness persisted. They did not move, even when she stepped closer. The air felt heavy, as if an invisible presence had commanded silence. She recorded the moment, capturing rows of birds locked in place. None attempted to peck at the grain. None moved toward the open space. Their stillness appeared coordinated, not random. The unusual calm created tension, as though something unseen hovered nearby. Observers later watched the footage and debated possible explanations. Some mentioned defensive behavior. Others spoke about fatigue. Yet, the uniformity of the freeze unsettled many viewers. The image of motionless life stirred curiosity, transforming a simple farm into a stage for reflection. Habakkuk 2:20 speaks with striking clarity. "The Lord is in his holy temple. Let all the earth be silent before him." The verse portrays silence as a response to divine presence. When living creatures fall into stillness simultaneously, the scene echoes that ancient instruction. The frozen birds appeared almost reverent, their quiet posture resembling submission rather than fear. The connection between silence and awe invited deeper contemplation about the meaning behind the moment. Natural explanations attempted to reduce the event to instinct, suggesting the birds froze to avoid predators. Yet no threat appeared, no shadow crossed the ground, no sudden noise triggered alarm. The stillness lingered longer than expected, intensifying doubt. The birds did not simply hide, they seemed to wait. The calmness felt deliberate, as though creation itself paused in anticipation. Such coordinated silence made the ordinary setting feel mysteriously sacred. Psalm 46:10 offers another perspective. Be still and know that I am God. The call to stillness resonates deeply with the frozen posture of the birds. The verse encourages reflection during moments of quiet. The absence of movement became the most striking element. Life continued, yet motion stopped. The quietness left behind a sense of anticipation, as though the pause marked a transition towards something carved into history itself. 10. Ancient stones carry a forgotten warning. A traveler walking along a quiet riverbank expected nothing more than a scenic view, yet the ground beneath his feet told a different story. Hundreds of stones stretched across the landscape, each carved with deliberate patterns that seemed too organized to ignore. These symbols were not random decorations. Some resembled vessels, others resembled animals, and many appeared shaped for ritual purposes. The carvings covered the rocks in dense repetition, forming a silent field of symbols. The visitor slowed his steps, sensing that the place carried meaning older than memory. The stillness of the river contrasted with the weight of the markings, as though history itself had been engraved into stone. He asked about the carvings and learned that they were considered sacred, created centuries earlier and preserved by time. The number alone astonished him. Thousands of shapes etched carefully along the water's edge. Each carving appeared intentional, not random, suggesting devotion rather than decoration. The repetition formed a pattern that felt ceremonial, almost like a silent gathering, frozen in place. Observers who later saw images of the site noticed how the stones seemed arranged in reverence. The atmosphere carried a sense of ritual, yet also a quiet tension, as though the carvings pointed towards something beyond their original purpose. Romans 1:25 offers a solemn reflection. They exchanged the truth about God for a lie and worshipped and served created things rather than the Creator, who is forever praised. Amen. The verse warns about devotion directed toward objects rather than the divine source. Standing before carved stones, shaped for reverence, the words gain renewed significance. The presence of countless symbols carved into natural rock invites contemplation about humanity's search for meaning. The contrast between creation and worship becomes more striking in such settings. Some view the carvings purely as cultural heritage, shaped by rulers and preserved through centuries. Others see them as evidence of spiritual longing expressed through physical form. Yet the sheer scale of the markings raises deeper questions. Why carve so many? Why place them along flowing water? Why preserve them for generations? The repetition feels deliberate, almost like a testimony etched into the earth. Doubt arises when considering whether the carvings reflect devotion or warning. The stones remain silent, yet their presence continues to provoke reflection. Exodus 20:3-4 delivers a direct command: "You shall have no other gods before me. You shall not make for yourself an image in the form of anything in heaven above, or on the earth beneath, or in the waters below." The passage speaks clearly about carved images and misplaced worship. When read beside a landscape filled with engraved symbols, the words sound like a final verdict. The traveler left with a sense that the carvings were more than relics. They felt like a testimony frozen in stone. Echoing across generations, and pointing toward the meaning behind every sign that came before. 10 moments unfolded, each one different, yet all pointing toward a deeper pattern. A bird spoke in a voice that felt like a warning. Rumbling sounds echoed without a visible source. A glowing sphere descended from the sky, and 3 suns appeared where only one should exist. A luminous formation drifted above the mountains. A perfect circle emerged in a silent field, and a sudden explosion shattered calm surroundings. Rain and snow shared the same space. Birds froze in unnatural stillness, and ancient carvings reminded humanity of devotion shaped in stone. Together, these signs form more than isolated events. They resemble fragments of a larger picture, one that echoes themes long written in Scripture. Throughout the Bible, creation itself often becomes a messenger. The heavens declare, the earth trembles, and silence falls when God calls attention to His presence. These 10 phenomena reflect that same pattern. Some appeared gentle, others startling, yet all stirred questions within the human heart. When unusual moments gather across different places and times, they invite reflection about the season humanity is living in. The signs do not call for fear alone, they call for awareness, humility, and a return to faith. This is a time to awaken, not in panic, but in prayer. When uncertainty grows, the strongest response is turning toward God. Prayer becomes a refuge, a quiet place where fear transforms into trust. Faith offers clarity when explanations remain incomplete. These events may not provide all answers, yet they encourage hearts to seek guidance beyond what can be seen. A whispered prayer can restore peace, and a sincere call to God can bring comfort even when the world feels unstable. If something in these signs touched you, consider leaving a short prayer in the comments. It can be a few words, a request for guidance, or gratitude for protection. Sharing those thoughts creates a space where others can find encouragement. Sometimes reading another person's prayer strengthens faith and reminds us that we are not alone. Your voice may help someone else find hope during uncertain times. If this message resonated with you, support the channel by liking, sharing, and subscribing. Each action helps these reflections reach more people who may be searching for meaning. Staying connected ensures you do not miss future messages that explore signs, scripture, and faith. Your support allows these discussions to continue and grow. Thank you for watching and reflecting on these moments. May peace rest upon you and your family. May your days be guided by wisdom, your nights filled with calm, and your hearts strengthened in faith. May God watch over your home and protect you in every season. Amen.
Joel.
What? Shut up, baby. Trash.
What if the glowing figures seen in churches, storms, and open skies are not coincidences, but warnings that time is already running out? A silent light forms inside a church. A priest radiates during a blessing. A shape reaches toward animals in a dark field. Wings emerge among heavy clouds. A figure hovers above power lines in a storm. A blinding flash stops a crash. A child is pulled from danger in an instant. A glowing presence crosses a live broadcast. Lightning exposes a towering silhouette. A giant form stands frozen in the rain. 10 moments, unsettling and escalating. The signs no longer feel isolated. The pattern is becoming harder to ignore. If these are warnings, can we still afford to look away? Something bigger is already unfolding, especially in the USA. Let's start right away with the first sign. 1. Silent light in the house of worship. Inside a quiet church, where prayers usually rise in stillness, something unexpected appeared without a sound. A soft glow formed near the wall, slowly shaping itself into what looked unmistakably like a human figure. It did not flicker like ordinary light, and it did not behave like a shadow. The form drifted gently across the space, as though aware of the sacred ground beneath it. The room remained silent, which only intensified the moment. For a few seconds, the figure held its shape, then faded quietly, leaving behind a stillness that felt heavier than before. The calmness felt reassuring, yet it also felt like the first quiet signal. The moment lasted only briefly, yet its impact lingered. Churches are places where believers gather, seeking the presence of God, and throughout history, light has often symbolized divine visitation. The figure appeared without any change in the surrounding environment. No shifting lamps, no passing headlights, no visible source. Cameras captured the glow moving with purpose, forming a shape that resembled a person standing within the sanctuary. Those who later watched noticed how the light contrasted with the steady illumination already inside, making it seem less like reflection and more like a presence choosing to reveal itself. Exodus 13:21 records a powerful image of divine guidance. And the Lord went before them by day in a pillar of cloud to lead the way, and by night in a pillar of fire to give them light, so as to go by day and night. The Bible repeatedly describes God using light to guide his people, not as decoration, but as a sign of protection and direction. When a glowing figure appears in a place dedicated to worship, many believers see more than coincidence. They see continuity, a reminder that the same God who guided Israel in the wilderness still moves among his people. Some observers suggested reflections or optical illusions, yet the calm movement and human-like outline leave questions unanswered. The light did not scatter randomly or pulse like electrical interference. Instead, it appeared composed, almost intentional. For believers, the absence of chaos strengthens the impression that the moment carried meaning. A quiet manifestation in a sacred place can feel more profound than any loud spectacle, as though the message was meant for those willing to watch carefully. Hebrews 1:14 offers another perspective. Are they not all ministering spirits sent forth to minister for those who will inherit salvation? This verse speaks of heavenly messengers moving among humanity, unseen yet active. When viewed through this lens, the glowing figure in the church becomes more than a mystery. It becomes a gentle reminder that spiritual realities may intersect with our world without warning, especially in places devoted to prayer. If such a sign appeared peacefully inside a church, it may be inviting reflection rather than fear. Yet, the question remains. If the first sign reveals itself quietly in a sacred place, could it be preparing us for stronger signs beyond those walls? And if the light in that sanctuary was only the beginning, what might happen when the next manifestation steps into a world far less calm? 2. Priest surrounded by an unexplained radiance. During a simple gathering, a priest stood before a small group, raising his hands to offer a blessing. The atmosphere was calm and familiar to those present. Then, without warning, a gentle radiance began to surround him. The light did not come from above or behind, but seemed to envelop his entire figure, forming a soft halo that separated him from everything around. The people nearby fell silent, their attention fixed on the moment. The blessing continued, yet the scene no longer felt ordinary. It felt as though heaven itself had briefly touched the earth. The second sign appeared brighter, less hidden, as though the message was growing clearer. The glow intensified just enough to be unmistakable, yet it remained peaceful rather than overwhelming. The priest did not react in surprise, continuing his words calmly, which made the moment even more striking. The light lingered for several seconds, surrounding him completely, then faded gently until the room returned to normal. Even after it vanished, those present seemed reluctant to move, as though they had witnessed something sacred that words could not easily describe. Numbers 6:24-26 speaks directly about the power of a blessing. The Lord bless you and keep you. The Lord makes his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. The Lord lifts up his countenance upon you and gives you peace. The imagery of divine light connected to blessing has existed in Scripture for centuries. When a priest becomes surrounded by light while offering prayer, believers may see it as a living illustration of this promise. The idea that God's presence accompanies those who speak blessings gives the moment deeper meaning. Some observers pointed to lighting conditions or camera effects, yet the timing remains difficult to ignore. The illumination appeared during the act of blessing and disappeared once it ended. It did not affect other objects in the same way, nor did it change the brightness of the room. The focused nature of the light seems to emphasize the spiritual act itself. For those watching, it felt less like coincidence and more like confirmation, as though the blessing carried visible weight. 2 Corinthians 4-6 offers another insight. For it is the God who commanded light to shine out of darkness, who has shone in our hearts to give the light of the knowledge of the glory of God in the face of Jesus Christ. This verse connects divine knowledge and spiritual authority with light. When viewed through this perspective, the glowing priest becomes a messenger rather than the source, a vessel through whom something greater briefly appeared. The moment transforms from curiosity into a sign that divine presence can manifest during acts of faith. Such a moment invites reflection on how often unseen spiritual realities may surround ordinary acts of faith. What appeared during a simple blessing feels less like coincidence and more like a reminder that sacred authority carries visible power. The light came quietly, yet its meaning echoes louder, suggesting that divine presence does not always arrive with noise or spectacle. As this peaceful sign fades, another manifestation begins to emerge, one that moves beyond the calm of a blessing into a scene far more unexpected. 3. A quiet visitor in the field. Far from crowded streets and bright city lights, a calm farm rested under the night sky. A security camera recorded the stillness, capturing nothing unusual at first. One cow stood motionless, staring into the darkness as though focused on something unseen. Moments later, a faint glow formed in front of the animal. The light slowly shaped into a gentle human-like outline, soft in appearance, yet strangely defined. The figure leaned forward slightly, extending a luminous form that suggested intention rather than chance. The cow did not startle or retreat. It remained still, almost attentive, as though sensing a presence beyond ordinary perception. 20. Protection appeared gentle, yet the pattern of appearances was no longer random. The glow lasted only briefly, though its movement appeared deliberate. No sudden flashes or distortions accompanied it. The light emerged, hovered, then faded back into the darkness. When the footage was reviewed, the surrounding environment showed no change. The grass stayed still and the shadows remained consistent. The calm posture of the animal made the moment more unsettling, replacing fear with quiet tension. Viewers noticed how the interaction felt controlled, as though the figure appeared with purpose before withdrawing without explanation. Psalm 36:6 presents a comforting thought. Your righteousness is like the great mountains. Your judgments are a great deep, O Lord. You preserve man and beast. This verse speaks of God's care extending beyond humanity to the animals of the earth. A glowing figure appearing gently before a farm animal can be seen as a reflection of this promise. The image of quiet guardianship suggests that divine protection may reach even the most isolated places, not through spectacle, but through subtle presence. Others searched for reflections or camera artifacts, though the calm interaction challenges simple explanations. The cow's steady posture suggests awareness rather than confusion. The figure's shape remained consistent, and its movement appeared intentional. The restrained nature of the scene contrasts with dramatic signs, creating a feeling that something deliberate occurred without drawing attention. Instead of comfort alone, the moment introduced quiet unease, hinting that unseen activity might be unfolding gradually. Matthew 18:10 offers another perspective. Take heed that you do not despise one of these little ones. For I say to you that in heaven their angels always see the face of my Father who is in heaven. Many interpret this as evidence of guardian angels watching over creation. The quiet figure in the field fits this imagery, a silent presence appearing briefly before returning to the unseen realm. The farm returned to darkness, yet the sense of watchful care lingered. The peaceful sign carried a subtle shift in tone, suggesting that gentle appearances may precede something more visible. As the night remained still, attention began to lift upward, where the next sign would no longer stay close to the ground, but emerge among the clouds. 4. Mystery moving slowly within heavy clouds. On a gray afternoon, a man pointed his camera toward a heavy sky filled with layered clouds. Nothing unusual seemed to be happening at first, yet his attention suddenly fixed on a movement high above. Within the shifting cloud cover, a dark outline appeared, distinct from birds or drifting vapor. The form seemed to hover, then move with slow, deliberate motion. Two extensions resembling wings opened and closed gently, not flapping rapidly like a bird, but gliding with controlled rhythm. The figure remained partially veiled by the clouds, giving the impression that it existed between visibility and concealment. The man kept recording, his focus locked on something that did not resemble any familiar object in the sky. The movement continued for several seconds, steady and composed. The outline appeared human-like in proportion, standing upright against the wind that pushed the surrounding clouds. No aircraft noise accompanied the scene, and no sudden shifts in direction suggested mechanical flight. The figure hovered in place, almost suspended, then drifted slowly behind thicker cloud layers. Those who later watched the footage noticed how the shape remained coherent, unlike random cloud formations that constantly distort. The moment felt purposeful, as though the sky itself briefly revealed something hidden. The quiet hovering created tension, transforming an ordinary cloudy day into a scene filled with anticipation. Isaiah 19:1 presents a striking image. Behold, the Lord rides on a swift cloud and will come into Egypt. The idols of Egypt will totter at his presence, and the heart of Egypt will melt in its midst. The Bible often connects clouds with divine movement and authority. A winged figure appearing within the clouds echoes this ancient imagery, suggesting not merely beauty but a message. Clouds have long symbolized the boundary between heaven and earth, a place where revelation emerges before fading again. Some viewers considered the possibility of a bird or drone, yet the scale and posture seemed unusual. The wings appeared too symmetrical, the hovering too controlled, and the silhouette too upright. The calm persistence of the shape separated it from random cloud illusions. Rather than dispersing, it maintained its outline, then gradually disappeared. This type of manifestation introduces a different tone from earlier peaceful signs. The atmosphere becomes heavier, shifting from reassurance toward warning. Revelation 14:14 describes a scene filled with prophetic weight. Then I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and on the cloud sat one like the Son of Man, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. This passage connects figures in the clouds with judgment and the unfolding of prophetic events. When interpreted through this lens, a winged presence above the clouds feels less like coincidence and more like a signal carrying urgency. The sky returned to its ordinary gray, yet the tension remained. The figure did not linger, but its brief appearance suggested that the heavens themselves may be signaling something deeper. As attention remains fixed upward, darker weather begins to gather, and the next sign will emerge not in calm clouds, but in the midst of a storm. 5. Hovering silhouette appears during a storm. Wind pushed through the night as dark clouds rolled overhead. Two friends stood outside, casually filming the approaching storm, their voices relaxed at first. Suddenly, the camera captured something unexpected above the power lines. A faint outline appeared, shaped like a standing figure suspended in the air. Behind it, soft wing-like forms stretched outward, barely visible against the flashing sky. The shape hovered just above the wires, steady despite the strong wind. The contrast between violent weather and the calm posture created immediate tension. The calm figures were now appearing inside chaos. The figure lingered briefly, holding its position while lightning flickered in the distance. One of the friends seemed to notice, his tone shifting from casual to uncertain. A sudden flash illuminated the entire scene. For a split second, the silhouette became clearer, revealing a human-like posture with extended wings. Immediately after the flash, the figure vanished completely. The disappearance felt abrupt, as though the lightning had revealed it only long enough to be seen. Darkness returned, leaving the sound of wind and an unresolved question hanging in the air. Psalm 104:4 offers a powerful description. Who makes his angels spirits? His ministers a flame of fire. The imagery of angels connected with light and natural forces echoes strongly in moments like this. A figure revealed within lightning aligns with biblical portrayals of divine messengers appearing during powerful events. Storms in Scripture often accompany warnings, turning ordinary weather into a stage for revelation rather than coincidence. Others pointed to shadows or birds, though the controlled posture challenges that explanation. The figure remained upright despite the wind, and the disappearance occurred instantly. The timing intensified the unease, suggesting the storm did not create the shape, but exposed it. The tone shifted from quiet observation toward caution, as though the message was becoming more urgent with each appearance. Matthew 24-27 speaks with striking clarity. For as the lightning comes from the east and flashes to the west, so also will the coming of the Son of Man be. The connection between lightning and sudden revelation carries prophetic weight. A figure emerging in a flash during a storm can remind believers of warnings about unexpected appearances that arrive without notice. The wind continued, though the calm from earlier signs had faded. This manifestation carried sharper tension, suggesting that the sequence was intensifying. As the storm subsides, attention shifts downward, where the next moment will unfold not in the sky, but on the road, and danger will appear without warning. 6. Flash of light prevents near-fatal crash. A quiet road stretched into the darkness, broken only by scattered streetlights and the faint hum of night. A cyclist moved steadily along the empty lane, unaware of what was approaching. In the distance, headlights appeared, growing brighter, larger, faster. A truck entered the frame, its speed closing the gap in seconds. The tension built instantly. The cyclist continued forward. The truck did not slow. The distance collapsed. The collision seemed inevitable. Then, everything changed. A sudden burst of light erupted directly in front of the bicycle, sharp and blinding against the dark road. Within the glow, a human-like figure formed for a split second, crossing the cyclist's path in one swift motion. The flash expanded, flooding the camera and washing out the scene. In that exact instant, the trajectory shifted. The truck braked violently, its front dipping forward. The cyclist remained upright, untouched, frozen in place. No physical barrier stood between them, yet the outcome had changed. The signs were no longer distant. They were intervening at the moment of greatest danger. The entire sequence lasted only seconds, though each frame carried intense weight. The driver appeared confused, looking ahead and then to the sides, searching for an explanation that did not exist. No debris scattered across the road, no pedestrians ran away, no object blocked the path. The glow disappeared as quickly as it had appeared, leaving behind silence and uncertainty. The cyclist remained motionless, as though trying to understand what had just occurred. The camera showed no gradual fade, only sudden presence followed by immediate absence. The timing felt precise, arriving at the exact peak of danger, not earlier, not later. Psalm 91:11-12 speaks directly about protection. For he shall give his angels charge over you, to keep you in all your ways. In their hands they shall bear you up, lest you dash your foot against a stone. End quote. These words describe intervention before harm occurs. A luminous figure stepping between a cyclist and a speeding truck mirrors this imagery of divine guardianship. What looked like a certain accident transformed into deliverance within a fraction of a second. Daniel 6:22 offers another example of rescue at the brink of destruction. My God sent his angel and shut the lions' mouths, so that they have not hurt me. Scripture repeatedly presents protection arriving when hope seems gone. A figure appearing on a dark road at the final possible moment fits this pattern. The intervention did not linger, did not draw attention, did not repeat. It appeared only long enough to prevent tragedy. The road returned to silence, though the emotional weight remained. Relief replaced fear, yet the pattern felt unfinished. One life had just been spared, not by chance, not by reaction time, but by something that appeared and vanished without explanation. The sequence was escalating. Protection was becoming more direct, more urgent, more personal, and the next moment would unfold even faster, where danger would strike without warning, leaving only a blink of time for intervention. 7. Child pulled from danger by invisible presence. A quiet neighborhood street looked completely ordinary. The pavement was empty, the air still, the moment uneventful. A young girl stepped forward, preparing to cross. Nothing in the scene suggested danger. No loud noise, no warning, no sudden movement. Then, from the side of the frame, a car appeared, moving far too fast for the narrow street. The distance between the vehicle and the child collapsed in an instant. There was no time to shout, no time to react, no time to run. The danger escalated with brutal speed. Then, something entered the frame. A bright, fast-moving form shot toward the girl, almost like a streak of light. It did not hesitate. It did not slow. The shape reached her in one fluid motion, lifting her sideways with precision and control. The movement looked effortless, yet incredibly fast. The child was pulled out of the path just as the car passed through the exact spot where she had been standing. The difference between tragedy and safety measured less than a second. The interventions were becoming more personal, more direct, more urgent. The scene froze in the aftermath. The girl stood safely on the side, stunned, her posture rigid as though her mind struggled to process what had just happened. The driver slammed the brakes and stepped out, visibly shaken. He looked around, searching for someone who might have grabbed the child. No one stood nearby. No adult rushed forward. No explanation appeared. The luminous form that had intervened was already gone. The street returned to silence, yet the emotional weight felt heavier than before. The timing did not feel random. It felt exact, arriving at the final possible instant. Viewers who later watched the footage noticed the precision. The motion was not chaotic or accidental. The figure moved directly toward the child, altered her position, then vanished immediately after the danger passed. There was no lingering glow, no secondary movement, no visible source. The sequence suggested intention. Protection had appeared twice now in life-threatening moments, reinforcing the sense that something was actively intervening. Matthew 18:3-4 emphasizes the value of innocence. Assuredly, I say to you, unless you are converted and become as little children, you will by no means enter the kingdom of heaven. This passage highlights humility and purity. A luminous figure protecting a child aligns with the idea that divine care extends tenderly to the most vulnerable. The rescue did not involve warning or distance. It involved direct action, suggesting watchful guardianship rather than coincidence. Psalm 34:7 adds another layer of meaning. The angel of the Lord encamps all around those who fear him and delivers them. Deliverance in Scripture often arrives at the last moment. The figure appeared only long enough to move the child out of harm's way. No spectacle followed, no explanation remained. The intervention existed solely to prevent tragedy. The girl remained safe, though the sense of wonder continued. 2 rescues had now unfolded in rapid succession. The pattern was becoming clearer. Protection was no longer symbolic. It was immediate and physical. As the street grew quiet again, the sequence prepared to expand beyond individual encounters. The next sign would no longer involve one witness or one life. It would appear in the open sky, visible to many at once. 8. Glowing figure crosses the sky during live broadcast. A routine news broadcast unfolded as a reporter delivered updates, unaware that something unusual was forming behind him. The city skyline looked calm, and the program continued normally. Then, high in the background, a glowing figure appeared, floating slowly across the sky. The movement was steady, not drifting like smoke or flashing like a flare. The shape remained composed, almost deliberate, as it crossed behind the reporter. He continued speaking, completely unaware, while viewers at home noticed the luminous presence. The contrast between the ordinary report and the extraordinary figure intensified the moment, turning a simple broadcast into something far more unsettling. For the first time, many saw the same sign at once. The footage spread quickly once viewers replayed the segment. The figure maintained a soft glow, neither blinking nor shifting erratically. It hovered with balance, holding a consistent outline as it moved across the frame. No mechanical sound accompanied it, and no sudden acceleration suggested a drone. The calm motion made the scene feel intentional, as though the appearance was meant for distant observers rather than those nearby. The scale shifted dramatically, moving from isolated encounters to a sign visible to countless people simultaneously. Luke 21:11 contains a warning that resonates strongly, and there will be great earthquakes in various places, and famines and pestilences, and there will be fearful sights and great signs from heaven. The phrase fearful sights from heaven suggests events visible to many. A glowing figure appearing during a public broadcast echoes this imagery, transforming the sky into a stage for a message reaching beyond a single location. Observers proposed drones or reflections, though the smooth motion and steady brightness complicated those ideas. The figure neither flickered nor changed direction sharply. The reporter's lack of reaction added authenticity, since the moment unfolded without preparation. Widespread reactions from viewers reinforced the sense that something unexpected had entered an ordinary scene. The tone shifted towards seriousness, suggesting the appearances were expanding in scale. Revelation 1-7 delivers a striking declaration. Behold, he is coming with clouds, and every eye will see him. This passage speaks of visibility across the world. A luminous figure appearing during a broadcast hints that signs may become increasingly public, drawing collective attention rather than private reflection. The broadcast returned to normal, yet the image lingered. The message now felt broader, reaching far beyond individual witnesses. As attention remained fixed on the sky, the next sign would arrive with sudden lightning, revealing something far more imposing. 9. Towering giant, revealed by lightning. An evening storm rolled across the city, dark clouds pressing low above the buildings. A stationary camera overlooked the skyline, capturing flashes of distant thunder. Then, a sudden bolt of lightning tore across the sky, illuminating something enormous hidden within the clouds. For a brief instant, a towering humanoid silhouette appeared, far larger than any structure below. The figure did not move, did not shift, and did not dissolve like ordinary clouds. It stood suspended, its outline visible only during the flash. Darkness returned, and the shape disappeared again, leaving uncertainty behind. The scale shifted from presence to dominance. Another flash cut through the storm, briefly exposing the same massive outline. The proportions looked human-like, yet impossibly large, stretching across the cloud layer. Surrounding clouds churned violently, while the silhouette remained unchanged. The contrast heightened the unease, suggesting something fixed beyond the moving storm. The camera recorded no gradual formation, only sudden revelation followed by absence. The sky felt heavier, filled with hidden magnitude, waiting for the next burst of light. Ezekiel 1:28 describes a vision filled with awe. Like the appearance of a rainbow in a cloud on a rainy day, so was the appearance of the brightness all around it. Prophetic imagery often involves clouds, light, and overwhelming scale. A giant form revealed within lightning echoes the sense of divine manifestation exceeding human understanding. The sudden exposure during a storm suggests a message delivered through power rather than calm. Unusual cloud formations were suggested, though the structured silhouette challenges that idea. Random clouds distort continuously, while this figure appears consistent. The lightning did not reshape it, but simply illuminated it. The immense proportions raised further questions, since the outline stretched far beyond typical atmospheric patterns. The tone shifted towards something ominous, replacing reassurance with tension. Joel 2:30-31 delivers a sobering warning. And I will show wonders in the heavens and in the earth, blood and fire and pillars of smoke. Quote, this passage connects extraordinary signs in the sky with approaching judgment. A giant figure revealed by lightning aligns with the idea of wonders appearing in the heavens, urging attention rather than comfort. The storm gradually moved on, yet the memory of the towering silhouette remained. The brief revelation suggested that greater signs were forming above. Clouds thickened once more, and the final manifestation began to take shape, one that would appear even more clearly within the rain. 10. Silent winged man stands motionless in the rain. Evening rain fell in steady sheets, blurring the horizon and softening the outlines of buildings below. Dark clouds pressed low across the sky, creating a heavy atmosphere that felt unusually still. Thunder rolled in the distance, muted by the constant sound of rain. At first, nothing seemed out of place. Then, through the curtain of falling water, a massive shape began to emerge. It did not form gradually like drifting clouds. It appeared already defined, towering above the skyline, its outline